Hello everyone, my name is Ritesh Gupta. I'm from AI Events Airline Information. Today we are going to have a discussion about distribution of airline products, specifically in the indirect domain. Our guest today, Ann Cederhall, she is vastly experienced and has deep understanding of the distribution landscape in this industry. She can provide great insights into technical as well as financial aspects of travel tech and distribution. So I welcome Ann. Hello Ann, great to have you with us.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon to you, Ritesh. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So, Anne, as airlines chart their recovery plans, how do you expect airline indirect distribution to shape up from here on?
Of course, this crisis has put everything upside down, and I think that we're going to have quite a long time to recovery. And but I still think it's extremely important to identify what can be changed about distribution, because one thing that's come out of this crisis is that we can see that the way we are working with the systems and mechanisms and the distribution landscape is obviously not working. It is way too slow to react. You can clearly see that airlines don't have business rules engines that can meet the demand to make drastic changes and offer. It is kind of one solution for all, which doesn't give the consumers choice, or you can change conditions intermittently. I'd like to say hats off to ATPCO for in only 3 months offering a waiver functionality for the refund and exchanges. But the way I see it is that 3 months is a very long lead time. I mean, so much happens in 3 months. It's impossible to, what do you do with this time? And if we are going to live with a world, and we do, where things happen, then we need systems that can quickly react, and technology and products that can react. As to NDC, of course, I think that this has also sparked this divide between who's in favor of NDC and who is not. This divide has become bigger. So I think there's going to be those who actually do something about looking into their processes and what can they change, and what kind of technology can they fit in to manage what is happening. At the same time, if they are going to make changes, I strongly advise them to look at what processes can they change, and what can they do they need this current infrastructure? Do they need all of it? I can give loads of examples, but should they be looking into how are they managing with coaches? Another example is, do they really have to benchmark lowest fares, for example? I've been saying this for a long time. Is that really needed when corporate fares are private fares anyway, to, at an extent of 60 to 70%? What does it matter? I.e., do they need all this kind of complexity to handle distribution? I think that's going to be one of those challenges that we have to look at and identify, and also why low-cost airlines have fared so much better during this crisis, because they already had mechanisms like Wizz Air, who have a travel bank, and you get 120% credit. And instead, if you choose to let your money go back into the travel bank, they already have that infrastructure in hand. Something I recently saw the other day in New Zealand, and New Zealand were publishing that they are now introducing an online credit redemption tool. And that is the difference, I think, that the low-cost airlines, then I don't like the expression low-cost airlines, because that's another thing that I think we're going to see post-COVID. There is just going to be airlines in my book.
And we know technology and distribution in airline business is very closely linked. But if we stick to distribution, there has been talk around being in control of the offer. So taking this conversation forward from the distribution perspective, do you expect a certain divide in the industry where certain airlines are going to be comfortable with going ahead with both NDC content and traditional distribution? And do you think certain airlines will push for more NDC content oriented bookings, considering that there was already target of 2020 from NDC? So do you see this divide of certain airlines going ahead with traditional bookings where they don't control the offer, and certain airlines pushing for more NDC content oriented bookings?
Again, like I started to say in the beginning, I mean, airlines are not going to care where the booking comes from. They're not going to care about the cost of the booking at all. But I think long term that they still will care. As we've seen, I mean, Singapore Airlines are currently launching their NDC approach in the midst of COVID, right? So it's different for different airlines. One positive thing from COVID is that I think it's going to trigger a lot of new technology. Like I said, you will have to meet customers' needs for different products. So not only, I mean, right now, Ritesh, we are talking distribution only, but if we are talking, of course, all the new technology that is needed downstream, airports, on board, etc., there is going to be this massive need for new technology. And I especially think that's going to, have a very positive effect for distribution and the way we think about distribution. There is the NDC, like I said, again, it's created this divide. We have those saying this is such a failure, and to a certain extent, I mean, they are right. Although I personally believe in NDC myself, and I believe in new tech. And I think we're seeing a lot of new technology today. We are seeing moves towards handling, massive transactions. We have DLT, we have blockchain. We are on the road to progress, and we're hopefully going to make something change in this area. At the same time, and I want to, talk a bit to what I think has been somewhat of a, let's say, failure with NDC, is the lack of looking at the end-to-end, how this affects everybody. And when I talk to corporates, I talk to TMCs, I can still, to this day and age, I can be in a call and hear somebody talking about, we have to get all that content back into the GDS. And we even have to move passive segments into the GDS. And you're thinking, oh my God, passive segments is never an option. Not only financially, it's a bad way to go, but I think from a customer perspective, it's a disaster, because a passive segment can never communicate and show you where the customer is and what's happening. So I just sort of cringe when I hear people talking about this. But you have to remember, Ritesh, that you have mid and back office systems that actually are designed and to be based on the GDS PNR. They are GDS centric. And here is where I think that we have to realize that change is needed here. And where I think everyone went, a bit wrong when it comes to NDC is very much that, first of all, I'm a firm believer that the airline has to own its data, it has to control its data, it has to have and own an API, right? And it has to be able to communicate at low cost, at good integration with other systems. It should be free and allowed to offer content to anybody of its choice, and really by its means. and ability. And this, I think, has been lost in the MDC debate. Also, something else that, coming back to what I was talking about, TMCs using, the GDS as the source, that is also sad. I mean, imagine if NDC or the working groups, and they would have brought in corporate customers, and in addition to TMCs, because I mean, the TMC is really just an intermediary between the airline and the corporate. And to really explain, I mean, those corporates that I've been talking to, of course, they want to have that personalized content from the airlines, and they want to have choice, and they want to have the possibility to have a different change process or a different refund process, or to have travel banks with the airline. That is what the corporate desires. So I think a lot of the focus has been a bit off, and hopefully this will drive the focus in the right direction. Anyway, that's kind of what I hope for. So, if I make sense.
And the traveler of today is looking for a lot more information, and airlines have to respond to certain attributes of their products and the whole trip which the traveler undertakes. Airlines cannot ignore that, and there are already initiatives which are being taken to assure travelers of their concerns. In this context, how do you expect some of the work which has already been done in terms of offer and order management, I'm referring to NDC and one order, coming into the picture and helping the airline as an industry to move forward, to take care of travelers' concerns through technology, through standard? Is it going to be used, whatever work has been done in the past 7 to 8 years?
Like I said, I think we're actually have a paradigm shift here. I think it's absolutely essential. Again, this is my personal view, for the GDS to really move into the arena of allowing and letting, working together with any third party, not only in their own solutions, but really enabling anyone who wants to incorporate third parties, APIs of anybody. And I don't really see the model that we will cover it all, because that's going to be impossible in this world. Like you're saying, the traveler is expecting so much digital integration and interaction, and for the full customer journey, which is a totally sort of new experience that we're seeing here. And it drives a different way of thinking of both technology and what is needed, like I said, with different APIs interacting. You have to be able to source multiple content. It's as simple as that. And it's regardless whether you're a TMC, where you must be able to do it, you must be able to sell different content. I don't think that you can anymore sit back and say, we only want to sell GDS content. The same applies to the GDS, where, like I said, I think they have to say, you can, in addition to selling GDS content, you can freely integrate any API of your choice, or we will facilitate that. I think those are the GDS that will come out even stronger than they are today in all of this. So I definitely believe we have a shift.
Last question. So how do you expect the role of GDS evolving going forward in airline distribution?
Again, I wish to highlight that I think that the GDSs should ensure that they have the platforms that can successfully manage NDC content and third parties and APIs. I don't, of course, we have the GDSs moving forward with their own NDC solutions, and kudos to them for that. Again, I think it's absolutely essential that they integrate any type of content into, meaning that if you want to work with a GDS in an NDC environment, you should be able to decide what is the shopping basket that you want to use, if that is an external application or any type of external application that you wish to integrate. This is absolutely essential, I believe, to the TMCs and to the corporate customers, where I think that the control has to come back to the corporate customer in a much larger extent than we've seen before. As to NDC and direct connect, I think it's all about transparency. That's actually another thing that we've seen through COVID, is that I'm a firm believer that the direct connect has to be the communication between the PSS. It has to be transparent to the customer what they have booked and what they can see and what they can access and how they can impact that. In this crisis, of course, we have seen everything from bookings not being visible to customers. Like I said, the whole exchange refund chaos that has emerged out of this. And this is something that, really you need to have a think about, I think, as any player in this landscape, if you're going to stay relevant. And that's, we see shifts now. We see shifts from content moving from one GDS to another. We see overall different shifts in the industry, but I firmly believe in transparency, and the customer experience is going to drive it all. Absolutely, that's there cannot be a battle between NDC or no NDC. Actually, I personally think it's a non-issue. It has to be multiple content sourced from everywhere and the best customer experience possible. And of course, to allow anybody the way they wish to sell their content, API or no API, or going through a different channel or going through another channel for another market, etc., etc. I think that's the only way forward to enhance the customer experience.
Thanks, Ann, for your time.
Thank you, Ritesh.